Good morning, friends. We are learning our subject Machine Learning 3170724. In that, we are learning Module 4, that is Basics of Feature Engineering. So, what we want to learn today? In previous lecture, what we have considered, that was measures of feature relevance, and there we have considered the entropy, isn't it? Entropy we have considered where we say the supervised learning algorithm, right? That is like classification or anything else. This is the entropy we consider. Entropy is typically pi log pi base 2, right? So this is what we have considered. Let us proceed further. Measures of feature relevance, right? In case of unsupervised learning, there is no class variable. Hence, feature to class mutual information cannot be used to measure the information contribution of features. In case of unsupervised learning, the entropy of the set of features without one feature at a time is calculated for all the features. Then the features are ranked in a descending order of the information gained from a feature, and top beta percentage, that is what value of beta is a design parameter of the algorithm. So beta percentage of features are selected as relevant features. The entropy of a feature F is calculated using Shannon's formula for what? For unsupervised learning. And that is considered as h of f is equal to negative pf of x log pf of x, that is p of f is equal to x, same, that is log p of f is equal to x based on 2, right? Base 2. See, this is also you can say is pi log pi base 2, right? The way we are calculating the entropy, the same thing is that you can see, right? But instead of pi, now here we are saying it as f is equal to x, right? Instead of that I, we are having f is equal to x, okay? And this is called as the Shannon's formula. So sigma x is used only for features that take discrete values. For continuous features, it should be replaced by discretization from first to estimate probabilities, that is P f is equal to x, right? See, for machine learning algorithm, it is always the case that you should see what type of algorithm it is. What do we mean by what type of algorithm? I'm not saying it is classification or clustering or in classification which algorithm is that. That is always the case, but for any algorithm, most of the case it is the condition that the data should be there in numbers, right? So whatever data we are having, we have to convert that to numbers. Categorical data is there, we have to convert to numbers. If any other type of data is there, we need to convert to numbers. Yes, that is the case. But one more thing is, most of the algorithms work with the discretized data and not the continuous data, right? And not the continuous data. So please take care of that. While you apply any algorithm, first of all, see that whether that algorithm works with discretized data or continuous data. most of the algorithm will say that they need to have the discretized data. I'm not saying all, right? In general, I am not saying. I am saying typically it is like this, that they are working with the discretized data, right? So what you need to do is, first of all, you have to do the discretization. Then only you can apply any particular algorithm. Okay. Now, measures of feature redundancy. What we have seen is feature relevance measures we have seen. Now we want to know about the measures of feature redundancy. Okay, so feature redundancy. What is feature redundancy? Where the redundant things are there, isn't it? Redundant things, redundant attributes are there. What we say is, say, similar values are there, right? Say two features, if you remember, we have taken the example of athlete, right? Athlete database data set. In that, we have considered win chance y and win chance n. Two things were there, right? In that, we have seen that they were having the values for 1 in y, and you can say for n, that is for this particular attribute, it was having 1 for n, right? Ultimately, they were representing the same thing. So instead of having these two attributes, what we have considered is only one attribute, right? So we have removed the redundancy. So you can recall that, right? Yeah. Now, so what we want is measures of feature redundancy. Okay. So feature redundancy, we have already discussed, is based on similar information contribution by multiple features, right? Win underscore, chance underscore, yes, and win underscore, chance underscore, no, right? So you remember them, fine? There are multiple measures of similarity of information contributions salient. One's being correlation based measures, second is distance based measures, and the third one is other coefficient based measures, right? These three categories the author has considered: correlation based, distance based, and coefficient based. Let us see them one by one so we can have the idea, and these things you have to implement in our lab also, right? Okay, so what do we say is, correlation is a measure of linear dependency between two random variables. Pearson's product moment correlation coefficient is one of the most popular and accepted measures of correlation between two random variables. That is known to you. We have studied this in our data mining subject, if you remember. Pearson's correlation coefficient, right? Okay, so let us consider for two random feature variables for f1 and f2, Pearson correlation coefficient is defined as alpha is equal to covariance of f1 and f2 and divide by under root of variance of f1 into variance of f2, right? This is the way we can find what? Pearson's correlation coefficient, right? Now, what is the case? Covariance f1, f2, that is equal to sigma f1 of I minus f1 bar dot f2 of I minus f2 bar. That is f2i, this is f1i, this is f1 bar, this is f2 bar, right? What is variance? Variance is f1i minus f1 bar whole square, and where we can say f1 bar is 1 upon n sigma f1i, right? Variance of f2, that is you can say sigma f2i minus f2 bar whole square, where f2 bar is sigma f2i upon n, right? These are the simple statistics formulas which you have used probably in your schools or at least in college for math subjects, as well as we can say for data mining subject, right? So correlation values range between +1 and -1. A correlation of +1 plus indicates perfect correlation, right? 1 indicates the perfect correlation. That is, two features having a perfect linear relationship. In case the correlation is 0, then the features seem to have no linear relationship. Linear relationship, that means what? Typically we used to say, let me show you. Something like this, right? We are having x and y axis, and you can say that it is increasing manner. So both the variables, whatever x and y variables will be there, both are increasing, right? Then if it is not like this, if it is you can say this way, then what we can say is both the variables whichever are there on x and y, both are decreasing, right? Both are decreasing. Got the point? So what do we say is, when it is 0, we can say what is 0? Correlation coefficient is 0, then the features seem to have no linear relationship. Generally, for all feature selection problems, a threshold value is adopted to decide whether two features have adequate similarity or not. Now, the second thing which we want to learn is distance-based similarity measure. So, we should know different types of distance calculation algorithms, as well as you can say their examples, isn't it? Now, the most common distance measure is the Euclidean distance, and which between two features f and other f, it is f1 and f2, we can say f1 and f2 are calculated as what we can say, it is under root of sigma I is equal to 1 to n f1i minus f2i whole square, right? It is sigma I is equal to 1 to n f1i minus f2i whole square. Typically, we used to say in maths like y minus x whole square, right? 2 points are there, and if we want to find the distance between 2 points, we used to say that x minus y whole square, right? X minus y, that means it will consider both the coordinates. If we are taking the x and y coordinates for 2 points, x and y, or you can say p and q, right? v1 and v2, that way we used to consider. So here we want to consider the distance that is between the features, right? For our maths, we used to consider them as, say we are having 2 points, say p and q. So what we used to do is, if we are having the points p and q, we can say we'll be taking it as the sigma, and then after we can say that for this formula we used to say it as p minus q whole square, right? We used to say it as this one, this equation only, but we were using for 2 points, that was say p and q, right? In maths we were doing that. Now it is same, it is not different, but the thing is now we are using that for two features, right? For points we used to consider x and y, isn't it, coordinates. Here for two features, what do we say? It can be having say multiple attributes or not multiple attributes. You can say that it may be having say a number of values, like say for this f1 and f2, let me say that they can be having say for f1 it is having the values like, if in binary we say we can say 1 0 1 0 1 1 1, right? This way it can be defined for feature. And uh, if it is say number, it can be defined as something like say f1 is equal to say 2 3 4 5, not necessarily the continuous, I mean the sequence is there, it is anything, right? But the thing is it is number, isn't it? And not only a single number in our points, that is in xy coordinate, we used to say that it is having x and y only, that is two values. If I want to say the point p, I'll be saying it as say it is having say 3 4 x and y coordinate. For feature we can be having the value like say in binary, then we can say this one. It depends on how much I it is having. For this sigma we are saying I is equal to 1 to n, right? So for that we can say it can be having 10 or anything can be that, right? It is nothing like it is having two coordinates only. For points it is having two coordinates typically we consider, right? To find the distance between 2 points we are using the Euclidean distance, right? So now we want to find the same thing for two features. So it can be something like this. Can it be this two? This is F1 and this is F2? No, it cannot be. We can say that if it is F1 in binary, we can be having the other feature that also is there in the binary, right? It can be having in the binary, right? So how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? This way it should be having for if it is having the number that is not in binary, in decimal, if we are having the value for F1, for F2 also, it should be having the same way, right? Same way. It can be having the value like 1 2 3 4 5 6, okay? 1 2 3, you can say 4 5 6, right? It can be having like this. And then we need to find the Euclidean distance, right? Then we need to find the Euclidean distance. Okay, so this Euclidean distance between features has been calculated using the formula that is given here, right? Now, let us take the example. Here it is given for F1. It is given the values of say 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? In this example, we have taken some value. This is only for example, right? You can understand that is in binary and this was in decimal, isn't it? That you understood. Now, what we want is we are having F1 and F2, two features. But there you can say this is aptitude and this is communication, right? So values are given. Say for this, F1 is 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. And same way the value for this communication is also given. Now what we want to do is we want to find F1 minus F2. Why? Because here we are having the formula that is sigma F1 of I, F2 of I. That is F1 of I minus F2 of I and then whole square, right? Then after we have to do the summation of all of them. Then after we have to calculate the under root. Okay, so let us first calculate F1 minus F2. So that is what is being considered here, right? 2 minus 6 is 4, 3 minus 5.5 is negative 2.5. This you can understand, right? So F1 minus F2 we have calculated. After that we can say we need to have the F1 minus F2 whole square. So minus 4 square 16, minus 2.5 square that is 6.25. For 2 square it is 4, 4.5 square is 20.25. We can consider these values, right? Now we need to have the summation of it, right? And after that, what is that we have to consider the under root of it, right? We need to consider the under root of it, and that is what we can say is we have to take the under root of this. Let me take that. I should consider the calculator to have the value, right? So can say 81.75, and it's under root of 81.75. It is 9.04157, right? So here we can say the value will be distance, that will be equal to 9.04157. Okay, so that is the distance between our two features. They are f1 and f2, right? Okay, now a more generalized form of Euclidean distance is Minkowski distance, and we can say measured as, how it is measured, that is d of f1 and f2, that is equal to under root of sigma I is equal to 1 to n f1 of I minus f2 of I, but raised to r. That means what? When we'll be taking the under root, we'll be taking it as 1 by r, right? 1 by r, that is the root. We used to say that cube root, then you can say fourth root, then you can say it is what? It is rth root, right? So that is the Minkowski distance. It is the same equation, okay? It is the same equation. Instead of this 2 here, here we are having it as r, okay? Here we are having it as r. So now what we say is, for Euclidean distance, r is equal to 2, okay? At r is equal to 1, it takes the form of Manhattan distance. If r is equal to 1, nothing is there, then we can say it is the Manhattan distance, and that is, we can say sigma is equal to 1 to n. But for Manhattan distance, it is absolute value of f1 of I minus f2 of I, right? These are the different distance similarity measures, right? Distance similarity measures. First we have seen is Euclidean distance. This is the Minkowski distance. This is the Manhattan distance. Fine. Now what we can say is specific example of Manhattan distance used for more frequently, where to calculate the distance between binary vectors as the Hamming distance. This Manhattan distance is used for calculating the Hamming distance, and how it is that is sum for I to n absolute value of v1 of I minus v1 of v2 of I. Okay, v1, that is first feature vector, and v2 is second feature vector, right? So typically it is being used for binary vectors. Okay, they are being used for the binary vectors. This we'll see a bit later. Let us see the example for this one. This Minkowski is the general, this one, right? General form of the Euclidean distance, or you can say Euclidean distance is the typical or specific form of the Minkowski. Let us consider for this. That is the Manhattan distance, because this will be useful to us for many algorithms like clustering or any other, right? So let us say that our f1 and f2, right? Our f1 and f2, let us consider whatever we have taken before. Two features are there. They are this one. Let us calculate for this one so you can have the idea, right? Let me put it here. Which one we want to find? The Manhattan distance, right? Manhattan distance. Example we want to consider. For that, let us say we are having decimal f1 is this and f2 is this, right? Now, what we want to find is the distance we can calculate is this way. That is, we can say difference we have to take, but that is absolute difference, right? Absolute value we should consider, and then after we can say we'll be doing the summation of it, right? So what we have to do is 2 minus 6, right? First features, we let us consider 2 minus 6. Then after, what we have to consider is absolute value of it, right? Absolute value of this, plus we can say we'll be having this 3 minus 7. What we have to consider? Absolute value, because it is mode, right? Mode we can say. If you do not want to write the absolute, there is a particular programming syntax and you can write it this way. No issue, right? This plus, what is the third feature? That is 4 minus 5. 4 minus 5 plus, what is there? 5 and you can say 9, right? 5 and 9 plus, what next? 1 and 8, right? So 1 minus 8, right? Plus, what is that? This is 7 and this is 1, okay? So 7 minus 1. So this is what we need to calculate to find the Manhattan distance, right? So that is between the F1 comma F2, right? This is Manhattan distance. Now what should it be? Let us say the first one is 2 minus 6 is 4 plus 3 minus 7 is also 4. The absolute value is there, right? Mode is there. So that we need to consider. Plus 1 is there. Plus 5 minus 9 is 4. Plus 1 minus 8 is 7. Plus 7 minus 1 is 6. Right? So now 4 plus 4, 8. 8 plus 1, 9. 9 plus 4, 13. 13 plus 13, 26, right? So this is the distance between two features F1 and F2, what we have considered here, right? Very simple. Manhattan distance. Take the difference and take the absolute value of it and do the summation, right? Now, next is we have talked of is Hamming distance. Hamming distance is typically used for the binary vectors, and how it is being calculated, that is, we can say sum for I to n absolute value of v1 of I minus v2 of I. v1 is considered as, we can say f1 I, and this is f2 I, right? So how we consider that? Let us say the example, two vectors are there, 0 1 1 0 1 0 1 1, and f2 is 1 1 0 0 1 0 0 1, right? This is f1, this is f2. Now what we need to consider for Hamming distance, okay? Sum for I to n absolute difference, that is v1 of I minus v2 of I, right? So now 0 minus 1 is 1, absolute value. 1 minus 1 is 0. Let me put one space. It looks better for you. You can have the idea better. Now you can see this is 0 minus 1, right? So it is 1. Then this is 1 minus 1 is 0. This looks better, isn't it? You can have exact idea if you put the space. or otherwise we have to put it in the table, isn't it? Then this is 0, 1 minus 1 is 0, 1 minus 1 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0, then 1 minus 0 is 1, this is 1 minus 1 is 0, right? So this is what we have done. We have taken the Manhattan distance. Have we have to now do the summation, right? So summation is this 1, this is 1, this is 1. So sum is equal to 1 plus 1 plus 1, and that is equal to 3, right? So that is the Hamming distance between two binary factors. Then now we want to consider other similarity measures. What are they? Jaccard index or coefficient and distance. The next similarity measure which we want to learn is Jaccard index or coefficient and distance. Okay, so what it is, Jaccard index or coefficient is used as measure of similarity between two features. The Jaccard distance, a measure of dissimilarity. See the difference. This is Jaccard index or coefficient, and this is Jaccard distance. Here this is used as measure of similarity between two features. This Jaccard distance is a measure of dissimilarity between two features, right? And is the complementary of Jaccard index. So how to find the Jaccard index is for two features having binary values. Two features having binary values, Jaccard index is measured as J is equal to N11 upon N01 N10 plus N10 plus N11. Now what does that mean? This N11, that means feature 1 and feature 2 both are having the value as 1. Feature 1 and feature 2 both are having the value 1. This is N01. So feature 1 is having value 0 and feature 2 is having value 1. Then for N10, N10 is, so for feature 1 it is having value 1, for feature 2 it is having value 0. What is for N11? That we have already considered that both the features are having value 1, right? So that's what we need to consider. Now, what is the Jaccard distance? That is D is equal to 1 minus J, right? It is complement. That's what we have already seen. This is distance and this is coefficient. This equation is for coefficient or index, and this equation is for distance, right? So keep that thing in your mind. See it properly. This is N11. That means both the features are having value 1, 1. N01, that means first feature is having value 0, second feature is having value 1. N10, that means first feature is having value 1, second feature is having value 0. And this is N11, that is both features are having value 1, right? Now let us consider the example for two features f1 and f2 having values. I have written it here. f1 is equal to 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. For f2 it is 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? That is 1, 0, 0, 0, right? Okay, these are the f1 and f2 available to us. Now what we need to find is n dot 11. N dot 11. That means what? That x is feature 1 is also 1 and feature 2 is also 1, right? If we are having, say, feature as x and y, here typically we used to say it is x and y. Here we should write it as f1 because we have given the name as f1 and f2, right? So we should write it as f1 and f2. This is symbolic language, isn't it? So we should use the same way it is there. So what we should do is sum of f1 is 1 and f2 is also 1. So let us see. Both are 1. This is 0 and this is 1. No. 1 and 1. Okay, so one time it is there. Then for this, no. For this, no. For this, yes. So 2 times 1, 1 is found. Other is not there. So for n, 1, 1. F1 is also 1 and F2 is also 1. That is 2. Now for n1 0, that means f1 is 1 and f2 is 0. 1, here is 1, but no. Here is 1, second is 0. Yes, so count is 1. Then after here is 1, but this is 1, no. Here is 1 and second is 0. So count is 2, right? For n01, we can say first should be 0 and second should be 1, right? First should be 0 and second should be 1. Okay, so this is that. So 1 and this is 0 but second is 0. So not counted. This is 0, not counted. This is 1, this is 0, not counted. This is 0 and second is 0. So n01 count is only equal to 1, right? Now, how to find the Jaccard coefficient of F1 and F2? That is equal to n11. So that is equal to 2. Divide by n01, n10, and 11. Summation of them, right? So it is 2, 2, 1, right? 2, 2, 1. So first is 2, second is 1, yeah, and the third one is what we can say 2, right? So we can say we have found the 2 1 2, right? We can say here the exact value is 0 1 is 1, right? Then after 1 0 is 2, and then after this is 1 1, so this is 2, right? Okay, it is same, but the sequence you should have the same way as you may confuse, isn't it? Okay, so this is 2 by 5 and that is equal to 0.4. This is Jaccard coefficient. Now what about the Jaccard distance? That is, we can say d is equal to 1 minus j, and so that will be equal to 1 minus 0.4 and that will be equal to 0.6. So this is Jaccard index coefficient and Jaccard distance, right? Jaccard distance is 1 minus g. Now SMC, Surat Municipal Corporation? No, it is simple matching coefficient. So what is that? Is almost same as Jaccard coefficient, except that the fact that it includes a number of cases where both features have a value 0 also. In the cosine similarity, we have considered only where 0 1 is there, 1 0 is there, and 1 1 is there. But 0 0 we haven't considered, right? Here we'll consider that 0 0 also. So n 0 0 will find where we can say that the first feature is also having the value as 0 and second feature is also having the value as 0, right? So we need to find in the same way we were having the n01, n00, n01 and n10, right? So if we find that, now you know that you can count it very easily. And how you can count that? That is 0 0 in both 0, no, in both 0, yes, 1, in both 0, 2, in both 0, 3. So n00 is 3. Then for n11, both the way 1, 1, then this is 2, right? So for n11, it is 2. Then for n10, 10, yes, 1. Then after this is 2, right? So we'll be having n10 is equal to 2, then n01. First is 0 and second is 1. So this is 1, then after no other count. So n01 is 1, right? And SMC is equal to this equation n11 plus n00 divided by n00 plus n01 plus n10 plus n11, and that comes out to be 2 plus 3 divided by 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2, and you can see the sequence and you can put the values. That is equal to 5 by 8 and that is equal to 0.625, right? So this is simple matching coefficient. Now we want to learn one more similarity measure, that is cosine similarity. What is that? Let us consider the example of typical class or text classification problem. Classification is known to us, but we want to learn the text classification. Now we have already studied where we have considered that if we are having few documents, and in that, for text classification, what we used to do is, in the documents, what are the unique words? And for those unique words, what is the term? Right? We have seen the document term matrix, just recall that, right? That is being used for the text classification problem. So what is the case? The text corpus needs to be first transformed into features with a what token being the feature, and the number of times the word occurs in document comes as a value in each one, right? That is said as the term document matrix or document term matrix, right? Okay, so there are thousands of features in such a text data, right? However, the data set is sparse in nature, as only a few words do appear in a document, and hence in a row of the data set. So each row has very few non-zero values, right? However, the non-zero values can be anything integer value, as the same word may occur any number of times, right? Also considering the sparsity of the data set, the 0 0 matches, which obviously is going to be pretty high, need to be ignored, right? Now, typically we used to say that cosine similarity, that means this is x, this is y, and we are having the angle, then we used to find it, isn't it? For that, what is the equation? That is cos x comma y, that is equal to x dot y upon, what we used to say is value, right? We used to say that mode value of it, that is we can say x into mode value of y, right? So how do we calculate this? This x dot y is the dot product of x and y, and what about this y? uh, um, Not y. For dot product of x and y, we can say xi into yi, and that will be what? That is sigma is equal to 1 to n and xi yi. So we need to take the one by one element of x and y, multiply them, and do this summation, right? That is a dot product. You must be knowing about that. So let us say that we are having x and we are having y. Some values are given to you. We want to find the dot product. So x dot y, and that is equal to 2. First one, 2 multiplied by 2 plus second 4 multiplied by 1 plus 0 multiplied by 0 plus 0 multiplied by 0 plus 2 multiplied by 3 plus 1 multiplied by 2 plus 3 multiplied by 1 plus 0 multiplied by 0 and 0 multiplied by 1, right? So this is what we are writing here, and that comes out to be 19. For finding the mode value of x, we can say it is under root of 2 square plus 4 square plus 0 square plus 0 square plus 2 square plus 1 square plus 3 square plus 0 square plus 0 square, right? And that comes out to be under root of 13, that is equal to 5.30, sorry, 5.83, okay? Same way for y, it is under root of 20, and that is 4.47. Now we are having the equation. So let us apply the value in that. Cos of xy, that is equal to 19 upon 5.83 into 4.47, that comes out to be 0.729. Okay. Now, next thing what we want to learn is feature selection process. So what is that? generation of possible subsets, the steps of feature selection process. So for that we can say first is say generation of possible subsets. Second is subset evaluation. Then third is stopping criteria based on some stopping condition, right? Then we can say validation of the result. This is the feature selection process. First of all, subset generation, then after subset evaluation, goodness of subset, then we can say stopping criteria, whatever is given. If yes, then result validation. Otherwise, again, you can say subset generation. Fine. So now, what do we consider for this? Subset generation, which is the first step of any feature selection algorithm, is a search procedure which ideally should produce all possible candidate subsets. However, for n-dimensional data set, 2 raised to n subsets can be generated. This is what is already known to you, right, from the set theory. So as the value of n becomes high, finding an optimal subset from all the 2 raised to n candidate subset becomes intractable, isn't it? See, typically we used to say for the data set, real-time data set, we can say it should be having many features. Maybe say 1000. So 2 raised to 1000 subsets. Ooh. For that reason, different approximate search strategies are employed to find candidate subsets for evaluation. On one hand, the search may start with an empty set and keep adding the features. This search strategy is termed as sequential forward selection. First of all, empty set, then keep adding the features. This is the sequential forward selection. On the other hand, a search may start with full set and successively remove the features. Take all the features, then after one by one, you can remove, right? So this strategy is termed as sequential backward elimination, right? Forward is selection and backward is elimination, right? In certain cases, search start with both hands and add and remove features simultaneously. It is called bidirectional selection. Each candidate subset is then evaluated and compared with the previous best performing subset based on certain evaluation criteria. If new subset performs better, replace the previous one, right? So there are three ways. One is sequential forward selection. Second is sequential backward elimination. And the third one is bidirectional selection. So this cycle subset generation and evaluation continues till a predefined stopping criteria is fulfilled. Some commonly used stopping criteria are: first is the search completes. Second is some given bound is reached. You can say specific iterations, it may be specified, or you can say that some error, or you can say that the threshold is given for something, right? The third one is subsequent addition or deletion of the feature is not producing a better subset, right? Then also we can stop a sufficiently good subset is selected. That means a subset having better classification accuracy than the existing benchmark. So that also can be selected. Then the selected best subset is validated either against prior benchmarks or by experiments using real life or synthetic but authentic data sets. See, why did I say you to take any particular data set from UCI repository or Kaggle? It is because they are the standard, or you can say authentic data sets. On that, many people have already applied that algorithms, and you also when apply, you can have the idea that it is working in this way. You can verify your algorithms output also with the available known results, right? That is why I told you to use the authentic data set when you are giving any new algorithm in the research. There also you are taking the authentic data sets. On that, the available algorithms are having the results. So when you are giving the new algorithm, you can apply on those data sets and you can compare with the results. Those are available for existing machine learning algorithms. And you can say whether your algorithm, what you made, is better or not, right? So in case of supervised learning, the accuracy of the learning model may be the performance parameter considered for validation. The accuracy of the model using the subset derived is compared against the model accuracy of the subset derived using some other benchmark algorithm. And in case of unsupervised, cluster quality may be the parameter of validation, right? And that's all for today.